Okay, so before we get into adding and subtracting of rational expressions, I want to talk about adding and subtracting of fractions. Because the thing is, in order to add or subtract fractions and rational expressions, we have to have a common denominator. Okay, so for example, if we did 1/2 plus 1/3, okay? The big thing here is we have to have a common denominator. There's two things we can do kind of to think about it. Probably the easiest thing to do, it'll cause a little bit of having to simplify in the end depending on the numbers. But the easiest thing probably to do for something like this is we can multiply the other one by one fraction by the other denominator. Because what we're looking for is the smallest thing, essentially the smallest thing both denominators go into, but we need at least something both of them will go into. So if I multiply this fraction by this denominator, so by 3/3, and this fraction by 2, that denominator, 3 times 1 is 3, 3 times 2 is 6. Then we do end up with 2 times 1 is 2, 3 and 2 is 6. Now I can add, I can do 3 plus 2, which is 5. My denominator stays the same all the way across, so it is 5/6, okay? And this is a very basic idea of what we're doing with rational expressions. So when we do rational expressions, instead of numbers, I might have something like, x over x plus 1 plus 2 over something as simple as x, okay? I can't add it this way. I have to have a common denominator. So the easiest thing to do, almost no matter what, and we'll get into some more difficult ones later, is to multiply by the other denominator. So I multiply this one by x over x, and this one by x plus 1 over x plus 1. Now, I'm not going to multiply my denominator out. X times x will be x squared. My denominator, I'm just going to leave as x times x plus 1. I'm not going to multiply that out. The numerator, I will distribute that, make that 2x plus 2. But again, my denominator, I'm not going to multiply out. I'm just going to kind of leave them like this. Now my denominator is the same. When I add these, I don't have any like terms up here. Sometimes you will, sometimes you won't. And so this is x squared plus 2x plus 2 all over x times x plus 1. I mentioned in the other video, you haven't seen this yet. I don't know if you've seen it yet, depending on how things are uploading. At this point, you're done. There's no sense in trying to factor this and do some other things. At this point, you are just done. As long as this is your least common denominator, then yes, like I said, you are going to be done. If this is not your least common, you could simplify a little bit more. But that would be pretty obvious if there was any other simplifying you can do. So this is a very basic thing, looking at adding, subtracting of rational expressions and having a common denominator. I'll do another video of maybe another complicated example to kind of see what that looks like.